Hello, hello. Thank you again for joining me for another episode of What Sayeth the Crooked Nose. Right, for those who aren't hip to my pun there, Cameron, right? My name is Joshua Cameron. Cameron means crooked nose. And yeah, anyway, this episode, I'm really excited. I'm going to be talking to somebody quite special. I think that you're going to see that this person has a lot of reasons why they could say, woe is me, reasons for why they say that they could easily say, hey, you know what, I can't. And everyone around them say, hey, you know what, you're right, you can't. And we totally going to give you every excuse in the book for you to be able to undermine any sort of progress and to be able to, placate your faults and just say, hey, you know what, we're going to go ahead and just stay where we are because life has served us up a bunch of lemons. But instead of just sitting where they are, they found a desire to improve themselves. I think that you'll find that the struggles throughout their life have made them better. And what's fascinating is, I brought up this idea when I was creating my, greatest idea of goodness, that when we find the ability to be grateful, even when there's nothing in our outside world that suggests that we should be grateful, well, then we find that real magic starts coming into our lives and we start seeing a path that starts unfolding before us. Well, that eventually led me to Peter Sage, who taught me kind of the ins and outs of, well, yeah, dude, that's how things work, right? That's part of the rule set. And like, oh, okay. So I kind of stumbled upon this, and I'm really interested to see where this conversation goes. I think that you'll find that this person's life is incredibly inspiring because there's so many forces that want to pull them down, but instead they just radiate and they really are looking to not just add value to themselves and those around them, but really add value to the world and everyone that they have the ability to interact with and to help. And I think that you'll see that. And again, as always, I have no idea where this conversation is going to go. I really just like it to go where it will. The dialogues are, in a sense, a living thing. And I don't want to constrict that too much. I love to see where it goes and really allow people to share their thoughts in the moment. And hopefully that the dialogue that we have inspires it to go in a great direction. So again, thank you for joining us. And I think that you're in for a real treat.
Righty.
All righty, Erin, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited to have this conversation. This is another episode of What Sayeth the Crooked Nose. If you aren't familiar with the pun, right, crooked nose is Cameron. My name Joshua Cameron, right? And so it's Scottish, probably because the peasants used to make a bunch of people angry, and the nose was just like, yeah, I'll just start going crooked because that way you don't have to get broken in the first place. But outside of the funny business, haha, you've got a lot of stuff that has happened in your life that isn't necessarily so funny, and yet you found a way to really inspire yourself, inspire others around you, and really rise out of that. And I wonder if you can kind of introduce yourself a little bit, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and then start off with a little bit about spirituality and why maybe spirituality is so important to you.
Alrighty, sure. Well, I'm Erin Wood, and I live in Appleton, Wisconsin right now. I'm just launching my own life coaching business called Empower Me Coaching. Um, I I'm working on not identifying myself as a chronically ill, disabled woman anymore, and I'm doing a pretty good job about that. Spirituality in my life is so important. It just affects every single ounce of being in me. I just know that there is something more out there that I call um, God, and I talk with Jesus. That's, where I go with spirituality. I know that the divine is within me, and I like to work and have, have things flow through me so we co-create our life together. I work on tapping into this with meditation, with prayer, with gratitude, and self care of myself, and sharing my good fortune and my and hoping to share my story of all the struggles to help inspire motivation with other people.
I like that. I like that a lot. And then when you say chronically ill, can you maybe share for us a little bit about some of the struggles that you've had to deal with in your life?
Yeah, sure. Starting when I was 16, I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I was an athlete. I was very athletic. I was a great soccer player, and I had a lot of freedom and movement. And one day, I just stopped healing. I got chronic migraines. I missed a lot of school. I was lucky. I was naturally smart because I had to homeschool myself through high school for the most part. I had to transfer high schools. Well, it was my junior year because my goal was to get into UW Wisconsin Madison, and the public high school I was limiting me and giving me markdowns and grades because of my absences. So I went to the private school and I did get into Madison, and it was wonderful. As I got older, though, things got worse. First, um, it got really hard, and I went through phases. I was so sick that I would get depressed, and my anxiety. I started having panic attacks, which were debilitating. I remember
Yeah.
waking up from my first panic attack. I thought I was having a heart attack. Oh, it was horrible. And then I started the medication. First came Valium. Ugh, and that just made things worse. And I was in college and I was wanting to have fun. And I was a sorority girl, wanted to party. And my blood pressure was 180 over 160, which is crazy.
That is nuts.
Yeah, my doctor called the day of my 21st birthday and told me that I better not go out and celebrate. And as I got older, once, things just didn't get better. There were no answers. The depression and the anxiety was so linked with my chronic pain, with the fibromyalgia, and I knew that there was something more going on. When I was 33, I started having a series of strokes. I had three TIAs and one pretty major stroke um, that I could barely even ask for help. It was, my husband, couldn't understand what I was saying when I finally called for help. The first thing I did was try to sleep, and finally, I'm like, okay, I have no feeling in my hand. And I tried to verbalize what was going on, and nothing came out right. I lost movement in my right hand for, several hours. But things luckily came back. My
Yeah,
mind
that's
is
scary.
different.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So I became dyslexic at age 33. They call it alexia. I went to speech therapy. I relearned a lot of things. I was, what triggered my stroke was a blood condition. And I was on fertility medicine. So I was lucky. It was a blessing in disguise. I wouldn't have survived if I would have gotten pregnant. And although my dream was to be a mom, I had to readjust. So I got more depressed.
Ooh, yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, the story of my, survival came later, and I'm still dealing with that grief. But I became stronger, and I got diagnosed with lupus. That's and two blood conditions, alpha phospholipid antibody syndrome and thrombocytopenia. And yeah, so um,
So you said that it made you stronger. Everything that you're describing would almost make me feel like I'm getting beat down by life, right? And while, you and I have both gone through, very specialized training to help us keep our vibrations high and keep our consciousness high, regardless of what the outer appearance is, right? It doesn't seem like you've actually had that training yet. What was it inside you that just said, hey, you know what, there's something better that I can actually make myself, stronger from this and learn from it.
well, that self-transformation really came years later. Maybe when I was about um just in January of 2021 is when I really started to transform. But I had this blessing. I had my family who loved me unconditionally. And I had this amazing husband that stuck with me for everything and he believed in me. And just deep down inside, I just knew because of my spirituality and my faith in God that things were going to be okay. They were scary, but I was going to get stronger. Everything was going to turn out right. I just didn't know what it would look like. I hit some lows with medication. They put me on this nasty medicine for my anxiety, and took away my feelings. Like I went for 10 days without feeling anything.
Yeah.
And wow, that is when I knew that I had to do something else, because all of a sudden I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't feeling bad. There was just nothingness. There was no connection to God, no connection really with my husband. And, I just remember laying there and, just watching TV and not even caring. It was miserable.
Wow. Wow. And so there was something almost a spiritual awakening from that, and just like
Yeah.
we're put in a dead zone almost. And my words, of course. And so what happened from there? Did you just like stop it cold turkey, or did you change medications?
I changed medication back to what I was on, but oddly enough, I started CBD oil. And it worked miracles.
So when you say oddly enough, why is it just that you kind of you weren't really resonating towards that? This idea of THC or CBD just didn't really hold much weight for you, or why would you say
Right.
oddly?
Yeah, it was just a last ditch effort. The
Mm,
CBD that I take has no THC in it. And it was just, it was recommended by a pain management doctor. And I just took it. And I didn't even notice the change in myself at first. People started to know. Oh, and notice that
mm,
my well-being, like I reached homeostasis. My anxiety was lessening, my pain was lessening. I was taking narcotics every day for over 5 years and still being in pain. And I was able to go off of high anxiety medicine and the narcotics. And my spiritual connection was reestablished. And I started, seeking out Bible studies and knowledge.
mhm.
It was amazing. I just slowly came out of my shell.
That's awesome. So when you started seeking out Bible studies, like what was it in the Bible studies that may have started feeding your soul, now that you're in a place where you have that connection back to God?
Um, Connection with people. I was very disconnected, not getting out of bed a lot. I had lost all of my friends. I didn't make the effort. My husband was still there and my family was still there, but I was
Mm,
lonely. And when you reconnect with spirituality and God, you realize that we're all one. There's unity, there is oneness, there's love. I mean, love is everywhere, love is everything. And I started to feel it. The Holy Spirit started to, come into me, and I started wanting more.
mm. And you and I have talked a couple times offline, right? Not on the podcast. And you'd mentioned to me also that throughout this transformation, there was also a significant weight loss. Can you maybe take us through that a little bit?
Wow, yes. So, starting in May of 2021, um, I, I was talking with someone, and I've already, at this point, I've started to love myself again. I realized the importance of self-love and self-worth. And I came to that conclusion because for a while I was loving my husband more than myself.
Yeah.
And and I read something that you need to love yourself more than your husband. You got first, then yourself, because you can't truly love someone if you don't love yourself. So when I transformed into self-love and this journey of transformation and journey of loving myself more, I realized that it was an act of self love. I was 236 pounds. pounds, and I just went on blood pressure medicine again. And I was feeling miserable. I had started exercising, doing water aerobics, gentle,
Mhm.
because of my fibromyalgia. And I'd been doing it regularly, but I'd only lost 10 pounds. And I was dismayed. And someone brought to my attention that there was this program, WildFit, which was very strict. It was very good. And I lost 40 pounds in 13 weeks. It got under myself, under my head that I could do it, and it was easy. And it was hard with my circumstances, with a job because you did a lot of cooking and vegetables, and I really wanted a microwave, and I couldn't have a microwave when I was at work or with the job that I had. Then I had some setbacks. I had to have a couple of surgeries, and I gained back maybe 7 pounds, but I got introduced to this new program, which I became a health coach with, called Optavia. It's a
Mhm.
structured optimal nutrition plan. And I am down 38.2 pounds since January 2nd of this year. So that is 78 pounds since May. And I am feeling so amazing. My energy is different. My brain is working better than before my stroke. I mean, more but before, when I was, like in college before the Valium and the pain medicine, because that really clogged up the way I was thinking. But I'm thinking, I'm sleeping sounder, I'm thinking not quite memorizing. I still have, a couple of the, neural pathways that are still connecting. And, but, oh, it's such an improvement. I feel so great. And I just want to inspire other people and help them through this journey.
You know what
You
I
know,
love about what you're saying is, it's an unfortunate reality that the way that our modern medicine, system works is that, hey, here's a pill, right? You were put on Valium. I mean, that's the exact thing that ruined Robert Downey Jr.'s life. In fact, if it weren't for Mel Gibson, he'd likely, never been able to come back into the acting scene,
Mhm.
and his life was basically destroyed. And here you are taking these, and it's not making anything better. You're
Right.
on narcotics for, what did you say, 5 years, and
Mhm.
still feeling pain. And yet when you started following a spiritual path and figuring out, hey, how do I love myself? Right? Hey, how do I treat myself with dignity and respect? And within what you said, from January of last year,
Mhm.
right, is basically when that started. And here we are, 14 months later,
Mhm.
and your life, is it fair to say that your life is completely different than when you started?
Ah, it is. I no longer survive off of willpower and motivation because those are lacking. They don't last long at all. I'm inspired,
Mm,
inspired and sourcing myself instead of having other people source me. It's, yeah, this amazing feeling of freedom and independence and hope and possibilities. I actually launched a business because I wanted to be a life coach. I'd been a crisis counselor and doing things for years, but chronic illness and depression and anxiety, dealing with mental health issues
mhm.
of other people's was an energy drainer. I wasn't taking care of myself.
Yeah,
But I still liked working with people.
sure.
So I got it into my head that I wanted to be a life coach much. But, the money it cost and the risks is going on in the business, I came up with a better strategy, talked to my husband, and he supported me. And I entered this amazing program called Accomplishment Coaching that I am starting my 8th month out of 12 tomorrow. And I've realized that getting comfortable with the unknown creates all these possibilities. And I do ontological life coaching and now health coaching through this Optavia program. So I'm an independent health coach and a life coach. And
What I love about you being a health coach and a life coach is like, girl, you've lived it. Like you've lived
Yeah.
it. I mean, that's what people need. They need somebody who comes from an authentic space that's actually walked the walk and not just like reading off of theory, right? Because
Mhm.
theory doesn't cover the cost of admission. And you've lived it. You know what it is to have
Mhm.
all these weights around your ankles just pulling you down as you're trying to swim to the top. And yet you found your way to the top. And that's pretty amazing. Good for you. And it
Yeah.
seems like the love from your husband, while you may have felt lacking in that you didn't have enough love for yourself, and you had more love for him. It seems like maybe he was a bit of a catalyst for you to be able to lean on somebody so you could learn how to love yourself.
Oh yeah, definitely. I just woke up one day, and it was a New Year's resolution of 2021 to start loving myself. So I started doing personal development classes and reading. Boy, did I read everything. And I started, listening, I always listen to Audible books. It's, since my stroke, it's harder to read. But it soaks in, and slowly I got introduced to the concept of, that I was living every in victimhood, everything was happening to me.
Yep.
And that wasn't good. I was a victim in everything in life. I was self-deprecating the way I described myself. I mean, I was just so negative. I didn't have emotions. When people asked me how I was either fine or I was frustrated. But then, slowly I started doing by me. I started doing things, working hard, but I had control over everything. I was in control of my life, and that felt powerful at the time, but I wanted more. I wanted that connection with spirit, with God, with myself. And all of a sudden, through me happened. Things started happening through me. I was on this amazing road and I wasn't working hard. Things were just happening. I got a scholarship to my program. I got support from my friends and family. Um, I just believed in myself. And felt that I was worthy, and why not me? I think, I'm not a football fan, but I think one of my clients mentioned this to me that stuck with me. I think it was Russell Wilson, maybe. He said, why not me? And that's true. I might be quoting him wrong, but why not me? Why shouldn't I have this opportunity to not only better my life, but help better other people's and walk them through how to find a why big enough to, transform their lives. That's the key is your why. My why at first wasn't big enough, but all of a sudden my why is huge. And we learned that embracing uncertainty was so important, and contribution and growth are so important in life that I wanted to contribute to other people, to the world, to my community. I wanted to contribute to my family, make more money. It takes some stress off of my husband. I wanted to grow because learning has always been this powerful tool. If I didn't owe so much money in student loans, I would be still in college getting degrees. I just love to learn and grow and teach. I'm not the best teacher, but I more lead by inspiration and the fact that I've been there. So I work on inspiring others.
Well, and you may not be the best teacher academically, right? You've had
Mhm.
a couple of things, happen with your brain, but chances are, I mean, if you take a step back, and let's talk about the law of attraction for a second, right? The law of attraction, the idea that whatever we put out, we're going to attract. And it seems like as you were living in victim mode, that to me mentality, right? Life happens to me. It seems like life was basically showing you why it's happening to you. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then when you started happening, when you're like, hey, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to make it happen no matter what. And you started living in that, that by me, I'm going to make it
Mm.
happen, right? It's going to happen by me. And it seems like things kind of shifted. You at least got out of your victim mentality and things started moving at least in a positive direction. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, definitely. But it was hard.
Very hard.
It
And that's
was
why
really hard.
incredibly hard, anytime that you're dragging all this weight and you're trying to swim upstream, that's incredibly
Mhm.
difficult. But then when you found that self-worth and you found that there's a path that's like, you know what, Erin, you're worthy. And
Mhm.
let's explore that. And let's see why you're worthy. Well, it seems like life conspired for you, yeah, to show you why you are worthy, and that it's trying to help you out. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Things just started falling into place. As I had grace for myself, I was able to be and not do all the time. And life started happening easily. Miracles were, appearing in my life. And small little, synchronicities I was noticing. I started taking journaling, all these things that were happening from as little as getting the parking spot that I wanted, and to just coming across something important that I was looking for, and it just falling into my lap. Uh, um,
Losing
I
70 plus pounds, right? Feeling
right.
better, being able to think better, being happier, having a better relationship. I mean, yeah. So, I don't want to necessarily poo-poo the idea of a PhD or a master's
Mhm.
degree or, collegiate education. But what you just described is so much more valuable than what you're going to learn in a college. Because a college is like, hey, bro, can you pass a test? Or hey, girl, can you pass this test? But like, is college going to teach you anything of what you just said that transformed your life and made it better?
No, I realized that that was a context I was living in, that I needed to have the degrees, and I still do. I'm going for ICF certification, which is the highest, thing for life coaching, because, I still want that accreditation and that credentialing. But life experience and is just magic. It's gold. And I wouldn't be anything without going through what I've gone through. It was hard, but I was lucky. I was born optimistic. People used to say that I was brave and I didn't see it. I never knew what it would be like to give up and not have that hope.
Mm,
So I had that faith instilled in me, eh, from childhood, from this loving, supporting family. Eh, and so I never not believed, I never didn't believe that life would get better. I just couldn't see it. And now I can see it. See it in the fact that the future is unknown and there's so many possibilities and ways that it can go. And I'm just excited at it. And this education piece is, I thought that I needed a master's degree. I thought I wanted to be a doctor. My dad's a third generation doctor. And you know what? Chronically ill people don't make it through college very easily, let alone medical school.
mhm.
Well, but this, this school of life, if has I feel like I mastered that, maybe have a PhD in life and still learning, and the ability to share through my experiences, my transformation, my journey, and it just helps. I'm a catalyst of change now. And I get to watch people's eyes,
Yeah.
sparkle when they hear what I'm saying and realize that they have the possibilities too. That self love is within everybody's reach. Everybody can choose, self love. I made a choice is 4, 5 years ago to be happy. I flipped that switch. I started the CBD oil. I went off antidepressants. I went off pain medicine. And because I couldn't not be happy anymore. I didn't know what happiness meant. I'm still connecting with joy, but I have joy now.
That's awesome. I love that. And, coming back to the idea of a doctor, I mean, there's certainly, benefits that doctors play. But what's fascinating is that when you find your way into a spiritual life and a
Mhm,
spiritual path, well, you might find that your gifts can so far, out surpass anything a doctor can do. For instance, a client that I'm working with now, one of my healing clients,
mhm,
they came to me, they have 5 lumbar spine that are impacted, which
mhm,
causes their spine to be unnaturally straight instead of having the natural curve, which causes their back muscles to be very tight. Since muscles wrap around the body, it's pulling on their right
mhm,
leg being tight, right? So it causes back pain, causes leg pain. But then because the right leg is tight, it's pulling on the patella, on the kneecap. And so every time, that they're walking, this is actually the most common, source of knee pain in the army. When I was in the army, is that when the quadricep is too tight, it pulls on the kneecap, and then the femur's just knocking against that every
mhm,
single time you're walking, just creates this chronic pain. And they've been going to chiropractic services for years, going through what is why I just lost the word with the pins in your body.
acupuncture.
Acupuncture, thank you. Acupuncture for years, and working with them, and within a week pain was gone, and I'm still working with them because now I'm guiding them even higher. Last time that we connected, I had them actually write out, hey, what's your highest level of goodness, right? What does goodness mean to you? How do I get you to aspire to that? And they wrote down a bit of an essay. I extracted different
Mhm,
parts out of it, and when I took them into the meditation, really had them connect deep. And I mean, lots of tears. And that's just not something, a doctor right now is basically not even looking at you, right?
right.
Hey, tell me what your problem is. Oh, I got a pill for that. All right, get out of here. It's like,
Mhm,
what the hell? And so now I'm able to actually help somebody connect to the deepest parts of who they are, inspire them to connect to the highest level of goodness that they can possibly conceive
mhm,
of, give them the powers to reinvent that. I mean, when I created the highest level of goodness that I could conceive of, this was before I ever met Peter Sage. This is before
mhm,
I ever had the training to then, be able to keep my mind at high consciousness, regardless of what the appearances were. Within a 13 months. Within 13 months, I basically transformed myself into a wizard that could heal people, right?
wow.
Yeah, wizard, my words. Through Ed Stracher's training,
Mhm,
and a bit of a philosophy wizard. I'm a philosophy nerd anyway, that can then describe things in a way that actually makes sense to people. And this is through Peter Sage's training. And my highest ideal of goodness was all around Gandalf, but not Gandalf going around, telling the Balrog that, you shall not pass, right? Or, fighting, the Witch King. It was about the dude who went around to hang out with people who loved the most, right? Hanging out with these
mhm,
hobbits, right? Why does Gandalf go and hang out with hobbits? Because he just can't get enough of just that goodness that people
mhm,
share by, being able to farm their own land, be able to grow their own food, share that with their community, just love life just for the fact that they're loving life. And that goodness is why he was always tapped to be, I don't know if you know how much of the Lord of the Rings that but he was always, tapped to be the white wizard. He just
mhm.
passed it up because he didn't want it, because he's a very humble person. But when he died, he got resurrected as the white wizard. Um, and so this was my highest ideal. And when we connect to that, right, you started connect to that, it sounds like January of last year. And here
Yeah,
we are 14 months later, and your life is completely transformed. And having the temerity and the tenacity to be like, no matter what, hey, I'm worth it. Hey, you know what? I love the people that have been in my life, and how do I give back to them? But not by taking from my cup, but by understanding if I change myself, well, now I can change the world.
right. Yeah. Doctors have been so important. My dad's doctor, now I've had acupuncturists, chiropractors, and I need and appreciate each and every one of them. But when you don't take what they give you, besides the pills, I mean, I'm on warfarin. I'll take warfarin for the rest of my life. But I just got off, blood pressure medicine. All of a sudden, my blood pressure was too low because I lost so much weight. It, but if you don't take the knowledge and the advice that they give you to eat better, to exercise, take care of yourself, like just like in physical therapy, if you don't do the exercise, if you don't put anything into practice, if you don't meditate, if you don't practice gratitude, you know, you know, you have no forward movement. And so, when you believe in yourself, and the highest goodness and love and recognizing that there is goodness all around you, uh, then you are able to do the acts of self care and be compassionate with yourself that allows you to meditate, to have a massage when needed, to eat healthy. I mean, every time I increase my greens, I have to go in and get my blood tested for my warfarin levels, but it's worth it. The exercise, the walking of my dogs. I'm still working on that. But it's still getting better, it's just you need to do things for yourself. Because when it comes down to it, it's just you can't, you live your life with people, but people don't live it for you. They can't change you. They
Mhm.
can't transform you. They can't fix you. You have to live in life where everything is perfect. I mean, I think I'm perfect just the way I am. I'm whole and complete, and that's how I look at my clients as whole and complete. And everything is perfection. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing that needs to be fixed, but there's always possibility. You can just keep growing and changing. Life is not static. It's this continuous journey into greatness.
What I
You
like
know.
about that is even if bad things are happening or things that we perceive as bad
Mhm.
happening in our lives, people might say, "Well, Erin, things aren't perfect in my life. How could you say that I'm perfect?" Well, from where we are and our ability to perceive, well, we're as we are today is the willingness that we're able to perceive
Mhm.
by who we are today. And what's happening in our life is there to teach us a lesson. It's the perfect lesson that we need to learn from where we are. We may not be willing to learn, uh,
Mhm.
but if we do open our eyes to the idea that, hey, what's happening in my life is because it's informing me of my beliefs, right? And the spiritual practice and your life is a testament to that, is that
Mhm.
we will manifest based upon our beliefs. When you felt that you weren't worthy, seems like you were manifesting a whole lot of stuff in your life showing you why you weren't worthy. But when you switch that
Yeah.
paradigm and you felt and believed that you were worthy, well, it seems like all of a sudden things manifested, things that you couldn't even make up. Things just started coming into your life and manifesting to show you that, hey, you know what? You're right. You're worthy. Does that sound accurate?
Oh, definitely. It really changed, getting rid of those limiting beliefs and recognizing, instead of just in hindsight, that everything happens for a reason. Be able to recognize why you're learning that lesson,
Hmm.
that you were meant to learn this lesson, and it somehow will help you become who you were meant to be. And that's hard to see when you're in by me or to me.
Hmm.
When you're in through me, you're able to, realize that all these little life lessons, that no matter how hard they are, how hard they make you cry. I mean, you have to cry, and sit there, sit with it, but you have to process it and not avoid it. Don't run away from anything in life. Run to it and run to that lesson, because you're gonna be open to all these possibilities, as long as they're on that in that vehicle of moving forward, and that, in process, being in process of moving forward and recognizing the gifts that God gave us, recognizing that we are the perfect, beautiful creation of God, or whatever, word you use for God, that's always hard for me. I understand that everyone has different spiritual
Yeah.
ways, but I talk in terms of God. And, because God is my source. I am my source. I source myself now, and me and my husband source each other. And, it's amazing. We just went on this amazing marriage retreat.
Aw.
It, it was amazing. We're just, Just, and there we learned, there was just the assumption that you can't have a relationship with self or others that is anything worthwhile if you don't have a relationship with God. It's just a necessary, our
So
source.
I'm wondering if I can maybe challenge you a little bit.
Hmm.
So you said something that I disagree with, but
Okay.
you're certainly willing to stick there. Now, Bruce Lee said, "Be careful how you talk to yourself because your body can't help but listen." And
Hmm.
what do you think happens to your body if you say that you are always going to be taking a medication for the rest of your life?
Oh, that is hard. I do. Right now, the signs does say with the warfarin, I get checked, because maybe that antibody, that alpha phospholipid antibody, will disappear, and and won't cause my blood to get so thick or whatever it does to my body. Because it's such a hard thing because I believe I can get off all my other medication. And warfarin is just a little, hard. Warfarin is a nasty drug.
Yeah.
But there isn't, that is a limiting belief. I'm hopeful and I'm scared,
So
going
let me ask you something. This is a thought
on.
experiment, and you don't have to agree with it, but so the mystics have always talked about how time is an illusion, that time
Mhm.
actually happens, simultaneously. Like what's happening in the past is happening at the same time as what's happening now, and the future's happening there as well. What if I posit this, and I don't have to be right, but what if the reason why you were born optimistic, regardless of your situation, is because your eternal soul knew, hey, this is no thing. I'm actually going to find perfect health, within this lifetime. So why should I fret?
I love that. And I do. I'm working towards perfect health. I'm perfect just the way I am. I know that. And I'm on my journey. Right. And, it's just hard to know what perfect health looks like because, and I might be there, I might be perfect in the health that I am, but I believe that I will get better. I still have some pain, but pain is natural and pain will come. Um, it cycles, so it's my relationship with pain, my relationship with health, my relationship with time
Yeah.
that is, imperative,
Yeah.
and I do hope that one day, that I will get off of warfarin, or, that one day my body will heal itself and I won't have this, extra antibody in my brain that, because that's the thing that I don't give much focus to it, but it does scare me that I could have another stroke and I don't know what that will look like.
Sure.
But I've come through it, and every time I hit the bottom, I've come through stronger. Or life just gets better, and sometimes you have to be humble and experience
Yeah.
that depths of pain and a little bit of suffering. Suffering, you know, seems to be necessary to catalyze you into health. I'm not sure my relationship with suffering. I just look at it, my suffering, as people would describe it, as a gift.
So
It
I
truly
and
is a gift.
there's always nuance to words
Mhm.
and different ways to skin a cat, so to speak.
Mhm.
I certainly believe that sacrifice is necessary,
Oh
but
yeah.
I think that suffering is optional. Now that said, I'm a huge fan of Jordan Peterson, and Jordan
Okay.
Peterson is very much in line with what you just said, that suffering is a very necessary part of life. But I wonder if he would more lean to the idea that sacrifice, because I know that he says that you have to choose your sacrifice, that there is no non-sacrifice alternative to life.
Mhm.
Um, and even the Bible is all about how sacrificing makes us better. That when we sacrifice for something good, well, then we ended up finding that good in our life to end up working towards, a better way. Um, Now, when it comes to, perfect health, whether it be stroke, whether it be getting off drugs, whether it be, autoimmune issues, what I found, and it's funny too, because I mean, I've worked as a combat medic, I've
Mhm.
worked as a phlebotomist, I've worked in pediatric medical research, following cancer studies on the largest longitudinal study of its kind across the US, collecting data, microbiome data, teeth decay data,
Okay.
based upon like BPA when, children were in utero, and moms, we were testing their urine for BPA, and then testing their children 8, 10, 12 years later to see about if there's a correlation between BPA in mom's bloodstream and tooth decay, and,
Mhm.
just lack of enamel formation. And so I'm very much, I have been very much trained in the way of medical science, and
Mhm.
yet I've never seen anything work in the way in which, Ed Stracher said, who I thought was a crazy person. The first time I heard him talk, like, this guy is out of his mind. This guy
Mhm.
is so crazy. But I've been following, Sadhguru, and coming back to your idea of, just loving yourself. Well, as I was following him, he was like, hey, if you want to be happy, just be happy. It's like, okay, Indian mystic, yeah, it's just that easy, huh? Just be happy. But I realized he was right. And by
Yeah.
me just being like, hey, let me kind of buy into this and see where it goes, well, I found out he was right. Well, what Ed taught me, and by working under Ed and being
Mhm.
a protege of his, is he taught me how to actually restore the soul. And that sounds funny until we realize that everything, here is effectively a manifestation of our consciousness, right? Everything that is, everything's energy. Uh,
Mhm.
and energy needs to flow. Well, there's certain areas in our life where energy quits flowing. And if we look at our air is full of energy, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen. Well, and it follows fluid dynamics. Well,
Mhm.
and if water, fluid quits flowing, well, what happens, right? It starts to pool and stagnate. Well, when it stagnates, well, it invites the mosquitoes to go and lay their eggs. Well, energy works the same way. The mosquitoes of the energy world will come in and attract, and what happens is our soul gets drained. And Ed taught me how to actually go ahead and, recharge that soul. Sounds funny. I thought he was a crazy person when he told me, but
Mhm.
life is about experience, which is again something Sadhguru taught me. Life is about experience, that we can't just sit in our heads, because again, like something Peter Sage would say is that, theory does not cover the cost of admission. And when we go and try things, we'll find out like, oh my God, right? I can't believe what a limiting belief this was. I
Mhm.
was a limiting belief for me that magic was real. It was a limiting, or that I thought that it wasn't. It was a limiting belief for me, thinking that people couldn't heal outside of medical science, even though medical science basically doesn't heal anybody. Medical
Mhm.
science says, hey, this is bad, let's cut it out. Oh, now you're healed because I'm missing a part of my
Mhm.
body. That's healed. That's healed. No, I mean, right. And so the Ed just spun me around in circles, and then, which is exactly what, the Tao and what Zen masters are supposed to do, is they're supposed to
Mhm.
confuse people who think that they know. Because when
Yeah.
you're confused and you reorient yourself, especially if you lean on your master, where you'll find that you might actually find a place of true knowing by, in the great words of Socrates, knowing that we don't, and suspending our disbelief, and just allowing, like you said, just to kind of live and to
Mhm.
be.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. You said a lot. I definitely agree with that energy. And I'm looking to still reinvent myself around the concept of energy. I get very intrigued by the possibility of working with my energy, but just being, I had a coach, when we were talking about being, that just as people just do, and they really need to be, and she just gave a little, do, and I'm like, oh, I do be. So now I do do, or maybe do be a little too much of being. But I'm working with the energies and just knowing I do. I don't know if you've ever heard of Donna Eden. She does some energy work. She has a daily energy practice routine that I do every day that just helps connect and move your energy with cross crawls and stuff that we're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And I have this amazing gift of just knowing when I'm working and getting there in meditation, but in my sleep, when I'm in my theta waves, I believe it is, I have control of what's going on. And it's just kind of like what Joe Dispenza talks about, creating your future and feeling it. I'm so confident. I talk myself up. I can feel and just know things that are happening in the future as if they've already happened. And when I wake up, I'm like, where did I get that confidence? But it sticks with me. And I just know that things are getting better, and I just know that, I will eventually learn more about energy and how it moves me and works through me because, that I'll master, oh, I don't know if you'll master meditation, but work on, truly being able to meditate. That's a struggle of mine is sitting and meditating and getting, because I feel like it's a limiting belief that I need to get in meditation where I get in my sleep dream state. And, um, so I work on that, you know, but, yeah, and sacrifice, I wrote that down that you were saying sacrifice is so important,
Yeah.
Um,
But suffering is optional.
Yes, and I like that, because my relationship with suffering has changed, Oh, it really has. And, I acknowledge that it's there, but I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if it's necessary in my life because I don't feel like I suffer anymore. I don't even know if I feel like I suffered in the past asked, a lot of my life was sacrificed. Yes, when I couldn't get out of bed,
Hmm.
how the time I lost in my grief to not having kids, mourning the life that I thought I should have, the energy I should have, mourning that 16-year-old energetic child that I was as, but I'm just looking at it as a gift, it's this gift of life. I, that everything has been worthwhile.
And if you wanted to share that gift, right? Say people wanted to learn how to follow your leadership and learn how to lose weight by being healthier, learn how to not be stuck in a place where life feels like it's happening to them, but feel like they can actually find that place where life is flowing through them. What's the best way for people to reach you?
My best email is empowermecoachingllc at gmail.com. My website, which is in process, I guess I should say, is empowermecoachingllc.com. I can do health assessments, I can do consultations, and I'll eventually have referrals and for things that help me so I can pay it forward to help you on my website. But please feel free to reach out. I'm willing to at least have a conversation with everyone. And I love to learn from you. And I would love the ability to help, you know, coach you to reach your potential. I like to look at coaching as a way to hold a mirror up so you can see the reflection of greatness within you because you truly are great and you are the expert of yourselves. And all I want to do is ask thought provoking questions and help you reach your highest potential and transform those limiting beliefs into possibilities because the sky is not the limit.
What I
And
like a lot about your life and a lot about your story is there's this idea in the Tao, right? The Tao Te Ching, about how if you give evil nothing to resist, it'll go away on its own. Not because it's not there, but because you can step out of its way. And if we find ourselves, frustrated with somebody, Maybe they're just not doing, or maybe even frustrated with ourselves. And we might find that we beat ourselves up. We're resisting, right?
Mhm.
We're resisting that, which we don't like. Well, the analogy that I started using is that when we resist, right, well, these mosquitoes, right, because there's this area of stagnation, these mosquitoes are now coming after us. Well, most people, when they're resisting mosquitoes, right, they're flopping their hands all over the place. Well, the reason why that's a problem is because it gets your heart rate going. Your heart rate gets going and then start breathing more. Well, guess what mosquitoes are attracted to? Our carbon dioxide. So we're literally making things worse. But
Mhm.
when we inspire ourselves, well, it doesn't mean that evil's not there. It just means that we can step out of the way. When we inspire ourselves, we're no longer resisting. We're just stepping out of the way for the bad to just do what it does, and now it's no longer affecting us, as we're focusing on how do we change ourselves so then we can change the world. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to change the entire globe. It just means that the people that we interact with, we're making their world better, right?
Right.
And then we're making our world better, which allows us to help other people. When we help other people, then their gratitude comes back to us, whether it be in the form of money or a form of help, and then we're now empowered to then even help more people. And it's just this give and give and give and give and give, and just this giving comes back, this giving and receiving. And I love the idea of inspiring, and I certainly don't know of too many more stories that are more inspiring than the idea of being born with the different chronic conditions that you were born with, still having a sense of optimism, and through that all, losing 3/4 of 100 pounds, getting off drugs, finding, a lot of drugs, finding a way to be grateful, and still understand that life is still a learning, growth centric, experience,
Mhm.
and still learning through your own limiting beliefs. So then you can help others to dispel their limiting beliefs and find, that higher plane. And when they get to that higher plane that they can see, well, now they're in a better place to perceive, okay, well, what other limiting beliefs do I have from here? Because there's never a point where we're going to stop, right? We're always going to have things that we're going to perceive things or perceive our power as less than it truly is. And
Mhm.
the more that we ascend and open our awareness and our perception to the idea of transcendence, right? Of being that great I am,
Mhm.
of being aware of what Bruce Lee said, that, right, we cast spells on ourselves, right? So to be careful how we talk to ourselves, because our body can't help but listen. And if we're going to cast spells on ourselves, well, why not cast good spells?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. We just, when you come to a limiting belief and you become aware of it, awareness is, the foundation of transformation. You become, I always like what Peter Sage had to say is just come up with a different strategy, a better strategy.
Yep.
So when things don't go my way, I, examine it and I appreciate the gift that I have. And then I'm like, well, I'm just going to come at it at a different angle. There's always some sort of way to get to that next level. And it all comes down to love and faith and belief in yourself. Their possibilities are endless.
I love that. And well, we need to start wrapping up. I
Mhm.
really love this conversation, but any final thoughts?
Wow, we've talked about so much. I just want people to realize that um, it's important, belief and self-love is so, so important. And that you too can, I'm not special, anyone can do what I've done. They just have to take care of themselves and believe in themselves, inspire themselves, and, never give up and don't beat yourself up because that just brings you down and so this is possible for everyone.
Yep.
Life is good.
So I like the idea of don't beat yourself up. And maybe, if for those who have seen Batman Begins with Christian Bale, learn to be the Thomas Wayne to your Bruce Wayne. Bruce, why do we fall? So we can get back up. So we can learn,
Mm,
right? We don't fall so we can beat ourselves up like, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid, I fell. Like, no, we fall so we can get back up, and then we're stronger. And now we're a new person.
mm,
And now since we got back up, we can perceive things better, perceive things differently, and as a new person, well, now we can bring that newness and that goodness
mhm.
into life and wherever we go. Hey, this has been an incredible conversation. I've really appreciated this. And why don't you go ahead and send me your information to your website and to your email, so that way I'll go ahead and put that in the description. So if anyone wants to reach out to you, they can, and find, great benefit, find, your ability to lead them from your place of experience, not
Hmm.
just theory, which, I would much rather have somebody who actually has that experience than somebody who's got PhDs all over their wall on theory, but they've never done it, because they can't come to me from a place of authenticity. They don't, they don't,
Hmm.
they don't know what it's like to struggle through this. So I love that you've actually not just struggled, but triumphed, and not just triumphed, but continuing to triumph. And that's what life is about. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me, Erin. And I am really looking forward to seeing people reach out to you, and just seeing your coaching business go ahead and explode.
Well, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Thanks for the opportunity.
My pleasure.
All
Well, this has
right.
been another episode of What Saith the Crooked Nose, and I hope that this has been a benefit for all who have been watching.